Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all here this evening. First item we need to take care of is Councilman Foreman's out of town on business, so according to our electronic meeting policy, we need to have a motion to allow him to participate by electronic means.
So moved.
So we have a motion by Councilman Haley, second by Councilman Johannesson. Roll call.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johannesson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 6 ayes.
Okay. Todd, can you hear us okay? Oh, all right, good. Next item is the approval of the minutes from our August 13th meeting. Are there any questions, changes, corrections? Todd, you good?
I'm good.
On the minute? Okay. So with that, we'll approve those minutes as submitted. Moving right along, report of the town manager, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mayor Black, members of council. Given the quantity and complexity of tonight's agenda, I've been brief. Just wanted to remind everyone that town offices will be closed on Monday, September 2nd in observance of the holiday.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Warner? No? All right. Appearances before council. We have one person signed up for the appearance before council. If you would, Joe Whiting, if you would, give us your name and your address for the record and give us your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Joe Whiting. I'm the pastor of Chambersburg Baptist Church here in Bedford County, and I want to just bring a word of encouragement to the council and thank you for all that you do. George Washington is no stranger to Bedford City nor to the peak that we call Sharp Top, and he had a letter he wrote in 1783 to the states, and he was emphasizing a quality that is a quality that I work on, that I think perhaps all of us could agree we need more of in our nation, and that's a quality of humility. Humility is the freedom from pride or arrogance. Washington said this: I now make it my earnest prayer that God would most graciously be pleased to dispose all to do justice, to love mercy, and to demean ourselves, that with charity, humility, and pacific temper of mind, which were the characteristics of the divine author of our blessed religion, and without a humble imitation of whose example in these things, we can never hope to be a happy nation. The divine author that he refers to, of course, in his book that we call the Bible, said this in 2 Chronicles chapter 7 on the topic of humility as well. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. I think the first step towards healing as a nation is a humble approach to God. May I ask a prayer of blessing for all of you? Father, I pray that you bless this city council meeting today for each of these elected folks and the job that they carry and all the support staff as well. I pray that you would make this meeting tonight honorable to you, to the citizens of this city and the county. And I pray that you would have your blessing upon the agenda and the decisions that are made, and may it honor you and be a beneficent cause to the people of the city of Bedford, Virginia. Have your way and blessing upon this meeting. We ask it in your name. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anybody else that would wish to speak during the public comment period? Of course, if you're here for one of the public hearings, we'll have a public comment period for those as well. So, but is there anybody else that wishes to? No? Okay. Next item is council comments. Todd, you got anything?
Just thank everyone for being there.
Bruce?
Oh, thank you all for turning out today. Appreciate the prayer. We can always use a lot of help for folks up here. The only other thing is the fair that we had this past weekend was very nice. I thought they did a good job of of working that, and hopefully it'll be bigger in the future.
Once again, thank you for coming. I mean, this is a great crowd. 2 meetings in a row, we've had these crowds, so maybe we're doing something right. But again, Mr. Whiting, appreciate you coming and delivering the prayer and saying what you did. I firmly believe in the power of prayer. Thank you.
Thank everybody for coming. Thank Mr. Whiting for the prayer. Want to congratulate Ann for her award, correct? And then just, like I said, keep Mr. Warner in your prayers.
I'm going to sound like an echo. Thank everybody for coming. The fair was a pretty good little fair. I'd like to see more of that. The kids loved it. But it was a good weekend, beautiful weather for it, hot. I also enjoyed the turnout for the mural. That we had a really nice turnout for that. And thank you for supporting things like this. But I'm hoping that all of you, when I was sitting out there, a lot of you came in here, you came through that front door with a smile. So I'm hoping that we can do something right up here so that you can leave with that smile. But thank you for coming.
I was hoping to keep mine brief in light of our agenda, but I just, earlier this week, I came across some information, and I just want to pass it on to council. We're all familiar with American Legion Post 54, but what we may not know is that the official name for Post 54 is the Board Kennedy American Legion Post 54. The name is derived from 2 service members that died in line of duty. The first one, Mr. Board, he was the first Bedford County soldier to die in World War I. Mr. Kennedy was the first soldier from Bedford County to die in the line of action in World War II. So that's where the name comes from. My comments tonight are kind of directed towards Mr. Kennedy. If I get my notes here straight. Mr. Kennedy was, at the age of 20, volunteered to join the Marine Corps January 20th, 1942. After basic training, he was deployed to the South Pacific and Guadalcanal. Okay. September 24th. At the age of 21, he was killed by gunfire in action against the enemy. He was buried by fellow Marines with some other Marines that had died in that particular area the next day after that particular engagement. During the 1940s, there was efforts to go back to that location to retrieve the bodies, but they were unsuccessful at that time. 2012, there was another effort made, and that continued until 2019. Somewhere around 2014, they identified the possible location, and several remains were found, and through multiple tests, they identified one of the bodies as Private Kennedy. On September the 28th, his body will be returned to Bedford County. What I would ask council to consider is that we have some type of recognition for Private Kennedy and the family, and I'd like to ask town manager if he could maybe make some contacts with Richmond or DC about seeing if we can, for that 24-hour period, the 28th, get flags lowered. But it's been, let's see, 82 years. since this guy has been home. That's it.
So, Bart, is that something, obviously, you know,
I'll reach out to Governor Youngkin's
reach out
office.
to that, get with Darrell maybe and get some of that, information and prepare a proclamation that we could maybe do on the our second meeting in September is the 24th that week. And, you know, certainly if the family's going to be in town that week, you know, and maybe we could get a contact and invite them to.
And it's my understanding that they do have family that's in the Good area, so, you know, we can make contact with them.
But yes, I think that's definitely appropriate that we recognize his service and welcome him home. Finally, like I said, the only other thing I've got, once again, thank you everybody for coming out to the mural dedication. It was a good event here in our community, and there was a good crowd there, so that was a good event. Like everybody else, I did get a chance to visit the Bedford County Fair, and want to congratulate Bedford County on putting on that good event. It was a good crowd, and hopefully, you know, we played a part in that. Our electric department helped with, you know, setting up temporary power out there, so appreciate their efforts there. You know, and we allowed some, you know, there were some shuttle buses from here in town. So, and of course, this last weekend too was the Professional Disc Golf Association down in New London, their World Championship. So hopefully, if you were around this weekend, you saw a lot of visitors here in town, and hopefully our businesses got the benefit of those major events, and it's always good to have those. So that's all I had tonight. One other thing, Reverend Whiting, you know, thank you for coming and praying for us again as well. So with that, that's all I've got on. We've got a report of council committees. I think the only committee we met, CG, you want to get a report on the request for proposal for the electric study?
Yeah,
Meeting tonight?
we had a meeting at 5:30 on the RFP proposals that were submitted for a rate study. We discussed that in depth, the two that were submitted, and basically directed Ann and John to contact those two so we could do a formal interview on, I believe, September the 9th, 1 hour each. So we're going to talk to them and have more questions to ask, and then make a decision on which ones to go with, or decide what other direction we may want to go. So that's pretty much the end of that one. We'll move forward.
And then the last revisions to the agenda. Yeah, we want to add a closed session for some personnel discussion, and that's under code 2.23711A1, right, Mr. Lockley?
That's on there. It's
It's
published.
already on there.
Oh, is it already on there? Okay, all right, it was added, okay.
I was going to note that we have some information about an insurance filing related to new business item number 10. Consequently, that item can be removed.
Okay, all right, yeah. So item 10, we're going to remove until a later date. That's the,
Damaged pole.
yeah, the damaged electric pole, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other changes? Okay, all right. With that, we'll go ahead and have our first public hearing, which is changing the zoning map by rezoning property at tax map number 233860 from R1 to B2. Mr. Warner?
Notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held by Town Council at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, August 27, 2024, at the Town Municipal Building Council Hall for the purpose of hearing comments regarding a rezoning from R1 residential to B2 general business submitted by Bedford Lutheran Church, located at 728 Burks Hill Road, Bedford, Virginia, to allow a sign. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. Anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall now have an opportunity to express his or her views at the hearing.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on the request from Bedford Lutheran Church to rezone from R1 to B2 to allow a sign. Is anyone here from Bedford Lutheran Church that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Tim Feaser. I'm actually a resident at Smith Mountain Lake. Do you need an address?
Yes.
102 Lake Pine Drive, Moneta.
And can you spell the last name, please?
F as in Frank, E-A-S-E-R.
Thank you.
I'm pastor of Bedford Lutheran Church. As you may know, we recently constructed a new building on our property after a long 15-year wait, and we got the building built. At the time, we were told we did not need to rezone because churches are permitted in any place in residential areas. And we decided not to rezone at that time because frankly, the only issue we would have would be the sign, and I didn't think we'd have the money to put a sign up. So I wasn't worried about it, but it turns out we did have the money, and we had a donor that, several donors who gave the money to do the sign. At that point, I contacted a sign company that deals with Bedford businesses, assuming that they would know both the code for the sign and the regulations regarding it. And they asked me what kind of sign I wanted, and I described it, and that's what they designed. And they didn't even consider the codes or anything. We found out later. So we found out the hard way that the sign did not meet the code for a residential area. It was way too large. So that's what led us on the path of rezoning. As some of you may know, recently we sold 2 acres of our property to the hotel developer, and he has rezoned those 2 acres to being business commercial. So we're asking for the same consideration to rezone. By doing that, we kind of even up the border of what is B2. So we feel like it's not going to affect anything greatly. We do know that the sign is not in compliance with the new codes regarding monument signs. But step 1 is to get it rezoned. Then step 2 is we're going to have to, once it's, I'm comfortable that it's rezoned, then we'll spend some money to get a design done. We did a preliminary design, presented it to Planning Commission, and they didn't really like it, and I didn't feel bad about that because I didn't like it either. We will do something, and I assume we submit it and we work through any problems. I'm still not entirely understanding what a monument sign is, so we got to iron some details out to make it that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would wish to speak? No? All right, with that, we'll close this public hearing. And we'll move on to the next public hearing, which is the conditional use permit for mini storage units at tax map number 193A13T in the B2 zoning district. Mr. Warner.
Notice is also given of a public hearing to be held by Town Council at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 27, 2024, for the purpose of hearing a request for a conditional use permit for indoor mini storage units proposed at 402 West Main Street within the town with conditions. The property is zoned B2, and the storage units are proposed to be located in the basement of the building. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. At this time, anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall have an opportunity to express his or her views.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on the conditional use permit for mini storage units at tax map number 193A13T in the B2 zoning district. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on that matter? Like I said, if you'll just give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kevin Ulozo, address 402 West Main Street, Bedford, Virginia, 24522.
And my name is Chinye, 402 West Main Street, Bedford, Virginia.
Yes, so what we came here to discuss was the rezoning of the basement of the building that we purchased last October, be used as storage units, miniature storage units. We had a town council meeting August 1st, and they gave us 4 conditional points that we had to meet in order for the approval. Number 1 was related to the access of the hours. So we concluded on what the council decided was from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for access. The next was the signage as well. So upon approval by the council, we would then begin to work on designing a sign that meets code and regulations. The next was the number of storage units. Initially, in our blueprint draft, there were 11 units. On here it says the storage units shall not exceed 10. So I guess one of those will likely have to be converted to something else, but that really shouldn't be a major issue. All the units are very, very small. And then the last thing was entrance as well. And that was to ensure that no material was tracked from the storage unit area onto the main road. So
Okay, so we'll have an action item later in the meeting, and maybe if we have any questions for you, on any of these specifics, that would be the time we might ask you to come back up. And, for right now, you're just, you're commenting on what you're trying to do and what you're asking us for, okay? All right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on the rezoning request for the mini storage units? Or the conditional use permit, I'm sorry? No? All right, well, that will close this public hearing. And then the third public hearing is designated real estate owned by the Bedford Elks Lodge, number 21844, as tax exempt from town real estate taxation. Mr. Warner.
Notice is given that the Town Council of Bedford, Virginia at 7 p.m. on August 27, 2024 will hold a public hearing at the Council Hall in Town Municipal Building to consider a request by Bedford Elks Lodge number 2844 to be exempt from real estate taxation the property located at 134 and 136 West Main Street within the town of Bedford. The request is made pursuant to Virginia Code Section 58.1-3651, which authorizes the Town Council to designate as exempt from real estate taxation property owned by a nonprofit organization that uses such property for religious, charitable, patriotic, historical, benevolent, cultural, or public park and playground purposes. The assessment for 2024 for the property was $46,000 for the land, and for the building, $304,400, for a total assessment of $350,400. The annual real estate taxes for 2024 would be $981.12. Any citizen who is in favor of or opposed to this request shall now have an opportunity to be heard.
We'll open the public hearing on the designating real estate owned by the Bedford Elks Lodge as tax exempt. With that, we got a few people signed up. Mr. Owen, you want to start?
Good evening, Mayor Black and Town Council members. My name is John M. Owen III. I reside at 1516 Woodland Road in Bedford, Virginia. I'm also an officer and a member of the Bedford Elks Lodge. We've been in existence in Bedford since 2005. And we are asking for real estate tax relief. Since I came and spoke with you at your meeting a few weeks ago, our lodge has donated to charitable, to non-profit organizations within the community $3,500. We have another $2,000 in waiting for a distribution to the Bedford Pregnancy Center sometime in September, coming up very soon. So just in the last few weeks, our lodge is contributing to the Bedford community in a way that is not being done by anyone else. I just want to make note of that we are very active and very serious about the community of Bedford and its well-being. I'd like to mention, I did some research. I actually have a computer at home, so I was able to go in and look at the Code of Virginia. And I find that I'm looking at section 58.1-3606, property exempt from taxation by classification. And I won't read all of this. You probably have seen it, I don't know. But anyway, you can go online too if you so desire. The following classes of real and personal property shall be exempt from taxation. And number 7 is buildings and land that they actually occupy, and furniture and furnishings therein belonging to any benevolent or charitable organization and used by it exclusively for lodge purposes or meeting rooms. I'll have another comment about that a little bit later. We are a benevolent organization, so we meet the shall be exempt. The Code of Virginia says we shall be exempt from taxation. Take that another step further with the property that is not being used exclusively for the lodge. That section is 58.1-3603. Exemptions not applicable when building is a source of revenue. And I won't go into details, but it's basically the part that we should be aware of is that when a part, but not all, of any such building or land, however, is a source of revenue or profit, and the remainder of such building or land is used by any organization exempted from taxation pursuant to this chapter for its purposes, only such portion as is a source of profit or revenue shall be liable for taxation. That's in section and subparagraph A. And B, it says the tax shall be computed on the basis of the ratio of the space as is a source of profit or revenue to the entire property. So I'm conceding the fact that we do have a portion of our building property that is subject to tax, but I wanted to be sure that the appropriate tax calculation is applied to that. Our building, total lodge building, is 8,442 square feet. We have 4,850 square feet that the lodge uses on the main floor, and we have a basement of 1,677 square feet that we use exclusively in the basement. We rent 1,950 square feet. I do have a drawing that shows that in this drawing, if anybody would like to see that. It specifically says that 1,950 square feet tenant space. If you do the math, 100% being 8,442 square feet, the 1,950 square feet is 23%. So I would submit that if we don't get full tax exemption, that calculation be used to determine what our tax liability would be. If you do that, that makes our tax liability $225.63. I'd like to say that this would be considered to be approved retroactive, because I believe that the statutes, we should have been tax exempt all along. I don't believe that we should have been eligible tax. According to the Code of Virginia, in that first section that I read, it said it shall be exempt from taxation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next is Justin Mummy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and other members of the Town Council. My name is Justin Mummy. I'm a resident of 3430 Londonderry Court in Roanoke County, and I'm actually also a member and past president of the Elks Lodge in Roanoke, Virginia. As Mr. Owen has mentioned, the Code of, and as people are familiar with, that the Code of Virginia does allow localities specifically to direct how much, if they are going to give, or if they are going to grant a real estate exemption. Just for kind of reference, Roanoke City did grant a full exemption to the the Elks Lodge in Roanoke City. Little brief history on that. We also have a business that does rent a facility in that space. We also do rent the ballroom area for private parties, and so forth. But one thing that also kind of is similar between the two lodges is that, and amongst a lot of these Elks Lodges, is the businesses that the facilities that they are renting towards businesses aren't so much acting as just for-profit standalone businesses in of themselves. A lot of them themselves are also an outstretched arm that's contributing toward the benevolent and nonprofit functions of the lodge itself. A lot of fundraisers will get conducted in these businesses. So it's not as if it's an actual just sole standalone business. That actual real estate is also contributing and helping raise funds so that those lodges can fulfill their nonprofit services. Just for example, the Bedford Lodge actively contributes to this local community through its Handbags of Hope project, by providing blankets for veterans, donating canned goods, providing lunch for first responders, providing areas for the Red Cross's blood drives, and also awarding achievements for junior ROTC and Eagle Scout achievements. And so while these businesses are renting space and the lodge is collecting rent off of it, the actual real estate and space that these businesses are taking up are also helping the program sources that is contributing towards that nonprofit function. And so I know it was mentioned as amount to prorated, so that would take the little over 900 down to 200. But that's $200. But I would even suggest that 200 should probably also be tax exempt. That's $200 that can help further go back into the community on an annual basis. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Lenny Hutton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. My name is Leonard Hutton. I live at 1719 Virginia Byway, just outside of town in the county. I am the current president of the lodge here in Bedford. I don't have any prepared remarks. I just wanted to come up and express my support for the request. The things that I would share with you are going to be much the things that you've already heard and reiterating. When we were here a few weeks ago, Mr. Owen had shared with you about our charitable activities and events, and you just heard from the gentleman before me talking about the things that we do charitably. Last year we donated in excess, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Nancy, but last week we donated, I believe, in excess of $10,000 to the community. And that's pure money. Now, that doesn't include the time that our members give to charitable opportunities and organizations within the community. That doesn't count the blankets that the gentleman spoke about, the food drives that we do, and all the other things. So, we are very much so a charitable organization, and we are very active in this community. And that would be my piece as far as the support for the request. I mean, those are funds that we can use towards other things that will enhance our charitable efforts within our community. And so that's the value to it. So, and secondly, on sidebar, Mr. Updike, I would like to personally tell you thank you for what you shared about Mr. Kennedy. I am a retired Army veteran, 26 years of service, and so I appreciate you sharing that as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Teresa Haley?
My name is Teresa Haley, and I live at 1308 Emerald View Court, and my business address is 136 West Main Street. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, it's good to see everybody tonight. It's been a while since I've been up here to talk to you. So I'm not going to hold you too long. I just wanted to reiterate just a little bit on what Justin was talking about. So in 2022, we did a Christmas tree at my shop for the Bedford Welcome Center. We were able to present the Elks Lodge with a check over $2,000. $1,500 of that went to our first responder program. $586 went to our Virginia Elks Youth Camp. Actually, we will be holding our first responders at our lodge tomorrow. The first responder program, let me just talk to you a little bit about that if you don't know about that. That actually feeds the Bedford County Sheriff's Office, our town of Bedford, our Virginia State Police, and our Bedford Fire Department, and all other first responders. Another thing that I have done for the lodge is in the fall, we have collected pocketbooks. I did a pocketbook fund drive for the lodge. I was able to collect over 65 pocketbooks, and they were sent out into our community. That is for the domestic violence program, and those are packed full of items for women who go into the shelter that need that. Another thing that I have done is we donated a grill for grilling purposes at our lodge. We have our hot dog hamburger night. We currently use that for steak night sometimes when we grill out, and I was able to do that. So I just wanted to let everyone know that this business is actually giving back to the community. So very actively. So thank you, and it's good to see everybody tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would wish to speak? No? All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing on the tax exemption request from the Elks Lodge. Moving to the next item, the request to close streets from Liberty High School for a homecoming parade. Mr. Warner.
Liberty High School Student Council Association is requesting the council authorize the closing of the following streets for the Liberty High School homecoming parade on Wednesday, October 9, 2024. Parade is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. College Street, Peak Street, Bridge Street, and right onto Main Street. They will notify the fire department, police department, and Bedford County Fire and Rescue of the street closings. The residents of the affected streets will also be notified and will be provided ingress and egress to their homes. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider closing the above streets for Liberty High School's homecoming parade on Thursday, October 9th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. And I believe Mr. Fitzgerald would like to share some more information with you.
Welcome, Mr. Fitzgerald. Like I said, if you just give your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Joseph Fitzgerald. My address is 1200 Maggie's Way, Coleman Falls, Virginia. I'm the SCA president at Liberty High School. I'm here to request your permission to close the streets for our homecoming parade on Wednesday, October 9th. Following the same route we have used for many years, starting around the primary school on College Street and ending after we pass through town to the courthouse.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Fitzgerald? Is this the 60th anniversary of Liberty High School?
It is our 60th anniversary, yes.
That's what I figured. That's about how old I'm turning this year. All right.
Wow.
Any other questions?
I just have one question. Wednesday at 5:30, there's traffic, people getting off work and stuff like that. Is that going to affect anything in the sense of speaking where your parade's going to come through?
I can speak to that. It's a similar time that we've had it for the last few years.
It'll be the rolling kind of parade, not the actual closing the streets. Yeah, it's like, but it'll be kind of, that's correct. It'll just be the rolling type parade. Yeah.
Because you remember one year we did move it to 6 or something like that.
Yeah. All right. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion to close the streets for the homecoming parade?
Second.
We got a motion by Councilman Haley, a second by Councilman Carson. Any comments, questions?
No.
No? All right, roll call.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right.
60 years, wow.
Next item is I guess an information item from the Bedford Pregnancy Center for a tax exempt status. Ms. Warner, do you have anything on that? If not, I know there's some people here from the Bedford Pregnancy Center, Mr. Harrington and Ms. Lewis, if they would like to come up and just kind of give us some thoughts on that, and and then that would be something we would take up
in the future.
In the future, yep.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me this time. My name is Lori Lewis, 1048 Cedar Fox Court, Forest, Virginia, and I am the executive director of the Bedford Pregnancy Center. We have been a part of the community since 2005, and this is Steve Arrington. He's one of my board members. He's here to catch me when I faint, right? No, I have been able to be privileged to be the director for that since 2005. So we have been in this community. Our address is 813 East Main Street, just down the road from here. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a Christian nonprofit ministry. We minister to women in crisis pregnancies, children, families. All of our services are free of charge. We provide counseling. We have a store that clients have a program that they come in. It is an educational program where they have modules that they learn about everything from prenatal development to potty training and on up. And then they earn items, new and some gently used items for their baby. We carry items in our store for up to age 2. So all of our clients come in. We are also very benevolent. We give out lots of items on an ongoing basis throughout their pregnancy. Clients may come in once a week, twice a week, as much as needed. We will also see their significant other, whether he's their husband, boyfriend, or a support member, maybe a mom or a family. Oftentimes our clients are in crisis, and we do partner with other people in the community. Domestic violence and other organizations also donate to us. So our request is, we have been in that building since about 2010, and we are requesting to have real estate tax exemption because we are a nonprofit and we do not charge for our services. And also, just a side note, a couple months ago, Bedford County Board did approve that as well. So we're just asking that you would consider our request. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, distinguished council members, and all administration. My name is Steve Arrington. I do live in Bedford County, 6131 Weeds Valley Road. I'm just a lifetime Bedford guy, born and raised here. I love Bedford, and I see Bedford as what it is. Not only the town and the county, but going through 5 years of reversion, we're all in this together. I stepped off the Board of Supervisors in the end of 2015 and stepped into this board. We do make a big difference. You would be surprised at the things that are dealt with here on the local level. I think many of you would probably know some of the things that do go on, but we do provide these services, and it's so important because it's an issue of life. There's an anointing over Bedford and Bedford County. There's no question about that. We're a unique community without exception across the board, a very giving community, and I just want to say to all of you here this evening that I feel very welcome being here tonight. You have made me feel very comfortable, and I think everyone in this meeting tonight shares that comfort level, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your service, and I would certainly pray that you would pray for our ministry and the difference it's making in this community, and that you would take the time to please go by and visit and see what's going on. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at what you may see. And again, I thank each and every one of you again for your service. Mr. Foreman, thank you. I left a brochure for you with the mayor, since you're not here with us this evening. And again, we want to thank you for your time, each and every one of you. God bless you. We covered your prayers, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's something, Mr. Warner, whatever we need. Did we ever get around to Mr. Lockley creating a small application?
We do, and I will email that to them at the address provided.
Okay, just to answer some of the questions that kind of are under the code requirements, just have that on the record, and then, you know, then we can put that on the agenda to do the same type of thing, have the public hearing and take that matter up, you know, as quick as we can, okay? Thank y'all for coming this evening. Next item on the agenda is the ordinance for changing the zoning map by rezoning property at tax map number 233A6T from R1 district to B2 district. So we have a motion to adopt that.
Would you like me to?
So we have a motion from,
action form?
huh?
Would you like for me to cover the action form first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to read that, I'm sorry. It won't be much, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. On August 1st, 2024, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to decide whether property located at 728 Brooks Hill Road can be recommended for approval of rezoning from R1 low-density residential to B2 general business for the Bedford Lutheran Church sign. The applicant was the only person to speak at the public hearing. The existing church had a sign installed that exceeds the standards allowed in the R1 zoning district. Change in zoning district from R1 to B2 would accommodate the ordinance standards for signs. The sign would still need to be converted to a monument-style sign to meet that ordinance requirement if the rezoning were approved. All uses permitted in B2 would be allowed with a zoning district change. Religious assembly is permitted by right in both districts. A motion to recommend approval of the zoning request passed by a vote of 5-0 with one member absent. There were no proffers. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider an ordinance to rezone tax parcel 233-A-6T from R1 district to B2 district without proffered conditions.
Now, we have a motion to adopt the ordinance changing the zoning map from R1 to B2.
So moved.
So we got a motion from Councilman Updike. The second, who was the second? Councilman Carson. Any discussion, questions? You know, I guess the only thing go ahead, CJ, you were at the planning commission.
Well, I'm going to say, I'm embarrassed to say I was the one member absent on this one. I was off on another one of my adventures. But I did hear discussions leading up to it by members of the church, and I did support this. I was in favor of this, so we recommend us passing this.
So real quick, Mary, maybe you can answer this question. So just a couple things. It's not a conditions, but they didn't put any conditions on that, but they would now go through the permit process. They would provide you with some type of plan for the monument style sign and landscaping, because those are all kind of part of the regulations. Is that kind of the process now? If we approve this rezoning, they would then go through a permit process with you to get the actual design of the sign approved? Am I saying that right?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, yes. So this would allow them to have the sign that will be permitted by right in B2. So they've actually already put in an application for the sign. So it would just be a matter of updating that to what they want to do. As Pastor Fieser said, they did need to know if this was approved in order to change the design of what they have to meet the standard for a monument sign. Okay. So yes, we would expect a different application from them for a zoning permit for a sign, standard procedure, administratively done. And so there were no conditions placed since it was a rezoning.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments from Mary?
Yeah. My only question is, it's just for the sign, is there going to be anything else in the future that y'all plan on looking into, maybe putting there, or will that cover whatever else down the road if you decide to do something else?
I don't foresee anything. It's a church. I noticed the zoning permits a bus station, gas station. I don't have any designs on starting a travel agency here. The only thing we might add, and I have no plans for that, but a daycare center, preschool or something like that, but not as long as I'm there. I've been down that road, so I don't plan that. The sign will be, we're hoping to use the sign we have now and then make it monument style so you get an idea. Either that or my brother-in-law designs signs for casinos in Las Vegas. No.
Work with that when you get there.
Good luck getting that out, man.
You're not planning on moving your sign any closer to the road than the one that you have there now?
We can move it back if
Well, no, I actually rode through there today to look for that, and there was no obstruction with the sign you have there. So if you're gonna pretty much do what you gotta do in that area, I don't
we'd like to
foresee a
keep it in
problem.
the area because of the lighting is wired there.
Okay.
But we could move that if we had to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Roll call.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right. Next item is the resolution for the conditional use permit for the mini storage units at tax map number 193 in the B2, 193A 13T in the B2 zoning district. Mr. Warner, I'll let you read that from
Only if you need it. On August 1st, 2024, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to decide whether property located at 402 West Main Street can be recommended for approval of a conditional use permit for 10 mini storage units in the basement of the existing building, which is the former Highs building. The applicants were the only people to speak at the public hearing. A motion was made to recommend approval of the request. During discussion, commissioners expressed questions related to the hours of renter access, signage, the number of storage units, and the driveway and entry from 4th Street. Members added 4 conditions related to their questions and amended the motion with the recommendation for approval, including the following conditions. 1, the hours of access by renters shall not be 24 hours. Hours of access shall generally be during normal daytime business hours and shall be posted. The hours shall be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or similar. 2, the sign shall not exceed 8 feet by 4 feet in dimension, shall not be illuminated, and shall conform to the sign regulations within the zoning ordinance. 3, the number of mini storage units shall not exceed 10 in number. And 4, the owner shall submit a plan to address the entrance from 4th Street to the rear of the building and the material used by vehicles at the rear. The owner shall work with the Town Engineering Services Office for the entrance and to ensure that no tracking of material onto public streets or sidewalks occurs. The motion to recommend approval with these 4 conditions passed by a vote of 5-0. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider a resolution to approve a conditional use permit for mini storage units located at 402 West Main Street. Council may amend or remove recommended conditions or impose additional conditions.
All right. Do we want to have any discussion on these conditions prior to making a motion in case there's any amendments or questions? Can we do that, Ms. Lockley? I mean, just to have a discussion before, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So is that just, if anybody's got any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I wanted to just say I received a message from Bill Mosley, and I wanted to just share that with everyone.
Okay.
That he thinks allowing the storage units is a mistake. I'm going to read exactly what he wrote. The 4th Street is a big mistake. The more exceptions are made, the harder it becomes to justify requests. With ever more vacant buildings, especially in Centertown, the greater the likelihood of more requests for exemptions. So I just wanted to share what I received on that. the comment I received.
Okay, all right. Anybody, I got a few little things up.
Yes, my only question is, if there is a problem with getting in, will there be a contact person to where they can contact someone and say they've got a problem getting in my unit or get help?
Yes, there would be 2 contact individuals. That would be me and my mother.
Okay.
You-
No, that's it.
So I struggle with regulating the hours of a business, kind of. I kind of get it. You don't want people going in there all hours of the day, but I mean, what is it appropriate, daytime hours? I mean, look, as light as can be outside, up till 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the summertime. So, I mean, instead of a time, does it make more sense to say from dusk to dawn? I don't, or is that too, I don't know. I mean, it's just, you got people working all hours of the day, and me, I mean, I can't get there between 8 and 5 every day, if I needed to have access to that unit, because, I'm working like most of us, So, I mean, that's just something that kind of is always just like, okay, it's, I mean, I get that the safety thing, you don't want somebody going in there at 2 o'clock in the morning, but, if somebody's working and they get off the shift at 11 o'clock, they may need to go by there and get something, I mean, I don't know, that's just, I really don't like regulating the hours that much, but I can concede with, a little more time, just because, like I said, 8 to 5. I mean, they really didn't say what. I mean, they never really. They kind of left it open-ended there anyway. They should be 8 to 7 or 8 to 5 or similar. Well, that's not a very good condition, in my opinion. That's kind of just whatever it can. Am I wrong, Mr.? Let's be a little more specific, Mr. Lockley. When you think of it as a condition on this?
I tend to think that this is a little bit of a squishy condition. If it's open at 1 a.m., it's probably violating it. But if it's open at 8:30 p.m., probably not.
Right. So
some squishiness around the edges, certainly, sir.
So how do we,
Could we make it from 7 to 7?
7 to 7?
I mean, and that would be.
Or 7 to 8? Or
Yeah, I mean, if you just set it and let it go.
yeah, I think it should be. I think it should be pretty cut and dried on what we think the time should be. I mean, do you all have any thoughts on that time period?
Yes, the time period actually does impose a kind of hardship on the business. Noting the fact that you have about 10 people, which obviously would include myself and maybe 2-3 family members who would have their stuff there. And the timing itself, the way we intend running the business is there's going to be a code for people to go in.
Right.
So at a particular time, let's say 10 p.m., 11 p.m., definitely all the code will be deactivated. So nobody can actually go in there.
Okay.
And also another thing I want to add, that particular place where the storage is going to be or has businesses all around. It really doesn't affect maybe neighbors or whatsoever. And if you really look at this kind of business, people really don't go to their storage units. They go there maybe once a month, sometimes once in 2 months. So the time 7 to maybe 7 p.m., yes, it's going to impose hardship, but at the same time, we do have measures to make sure that at odd hours, when it's really, really dark, a lot of people won't go to their storage. We're going to deactivate the...
I'm assuming that whatever hours you choose would be hours that they would have access to you if there's a problem.
Yes.
So they don't have to call you all night.
No.
Yeah, and these will be individual units where people can just come and go. You don't have to be monitoring them. They got their codes, and after the hour that you set, you deactivate the code so they know they can't get in.
Yeah.
This is what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Remind me on the one we did for Wells. Did we put a time on the one at Wells Fargo? Does anybody remember what?
I think we did.
For sure
But
we
that
did.
was later than, that was what, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, I think it was.
That was
later.
around 11
Yeah,
o'clock.
Mary, you don't remember? Yeah, I know there were some conditions, but I can't remember what those hours were for that one.
I'm thinking that was later. That was 11 o'clock to give people, it might not, I'm thinking.
Could we say, could we make the condition, I don't know, consistent with what we did? I don't know how to, if we don't know what those hours were right this second. I would like to see consistency, you know, I don't wanna give them, you know, hours to operate their business if it's the same type of purpose that we've given somebody some other.
Mr. Mayor, if I may make a suggestion, I am fairly sure that if Ms. Zirkle went down to her office, she could pull up that last conditional use permit and bring it upstairs. If you just wanted to, we could either take a 5-minute recess, or we could.
Well, we
come
can
back
kind of
to this
maybe go
item
through some of
later.
these other, there's a couple other little things. Well, if Mary, you know, if you could do that for us. Like I said, I think to be fair, we need to be consistent.
Oh, yeah, I
you know?
agree.
I mean, that's, and I don't want to give you all some restriction that somebody else, a similar business that's doing the exact same thing is getting something, you know, a little more generous. Is that?
I agree.
All right, so, sign, I didn't have any questions. So you mentioned 11 units versus 10 in your, or was that in your original site plan, or is that a change from what y'all?
No, if you look at the plan, I don't know if you have it.
Let me see. I got pictures, let's see.
It's on the back.
Is it on the last page? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I guess, is those end units.
Yeah, if you look at the middle of the plan, that's where we have the mini storage units. On the two sides, I wouldn't call one of them something for the public. That's my personal. That's where the church actually puts. We're going to have our stuff in there. The church does have stuff in there, and my personal stuff. So we're actually constructing. We're going to construct 9. The 9 at the middle. Yes.
Oh, so 9 is, so
At the
you're not
middle.
going to exceed
That's what
10.
That's
Okay.
what we're constructing. So the other stuff, that's just like a room, or what do you call it?
Yeah.
That's a room on itself.
So these two units, these two end are
Yes,
not
the one on
actually,
the other side is just separate.
so they're not
Completely
actually
separate.
storage units then? Is that what you're saying?
That's like hallway access.
The one that
It's
would be
hallway.
on this side right here is a completely different, it's completely detached from where.
Okay,
It's
so
not
that,
even the same access point.
so were you, on the other end, were you trying to make that a storage unit that you could rent out?
Personal.
That's a no.
Yes.
So 9, so you're under the 10 anyway.
Yes, we're still under the 10.
So we don't need to change that to 11 then? Okay,
No.
okay, all right, I was just want to make sure that we were, okay. All right, and then the last thing, number 4, a little bit about the, you know, making sure we don't bring out, you know, mud, gravel into the, you know, public street or whatever, because that access right now is kind of some packed gravel, and, you know, I guess there is some grassy area there. I mean, I just want to make sure this one was kind of iffy too. I mean, what's your plans there? Is your plans to bring in more gravel and make sure that way are you not thinking about paving or doing anything like that?
No, we're
Not
not.
at the moment.
We're not thinking about paving. We do plan on working with the town engineer
Okay.
I did do some research on storage unit access, and I found via Total Solutions that storage units are typically accessed once every month, once every 2 months, and if we're talking about having 9 to 10 units, that's only a little over one individual driving there a week, rather. So there shouldn't be too much traffic disrupting the current flow.
Okay. And you know, pouring down rain, you're probably not going get stuff out there.
Not like
pouring
it.
down rain, but anyway. All right. Yeah. So any?
I got a couple of questions. Are you planning to have any kind of security cameras or anything there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What about the businesses upstairs? Are they gonna affect them anyway, anyhow? Do you have any businesses upstairs, Dylan?
Yeah. Currently, we do have a church upstairs.
Yeah,
And then
on
we,
top.
yes, on top, we do have a church and a speech therapy here.
And the other question is it gonna be, is this not gonna affect the building down at beside, people parking in their other parking lot? So who's gonna monitor that?
Well, the way storage units typically operate, it's something kind of like a rotating service, so people likely won't be staying there for extended periods of time. It's more so a drop-off, pickup kind of business.
Mary, did you find out anything for us? Okay.
The hours imposed as conditions for Wells Fargo was 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
6 to 11. Okay.
And to be sure, what the question posed by the planning commission was, what would the hours of operation be? Those hours in your condition were offered by the applicant.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, do you think I mean, you sound like you don't want it to go to 11, but I mean, because
Yeah, I think that's okay. That's good.
6 to 11?
Perfect. Yes. However, we're not going to have people there at that time, but it's okay so we don't violate. You know,
Right.
should there be an emergency or something?
Everybody kind of good with that kind of change? I mean, to be consistent, or?
So they're on the same page with
Yeah.
Wells Fargo. Okay.
I mean, if y'all are okay with it.
I'm just scares me about the 11. Well, if you ain't gonna have, that's gonna pull out into that intersection right there, that bad intersection right there, at the stoplight, basically. And if you have 11 o'clock, somebody might pull out and not pay attention and hit somebody. That's
There's that much traffic.
No,
I'm
no,
bugging.
yeah,
Not only that, but you got a stoplight there. They run the stoplight.
Yeah.
People didn't do it.
Right.
It's a
I mean,
stoplight there, you know.
I mean,
correct you.
obviously, if we
It is
give
a
you
couple
that
of
and you
percent.
decide you don't want to give your customers access to 11 o'clock, that's your business decision. It's
But you
not
can.
us dictating to you your hours, and we're being consistent. So, I mean, you could certainly tell, you could set your hours less than that. There's nothing saying that, but we're not saying you've got to be that restricted. So I would like to change that condition to 6 to 11 and make it very specific.
Not to exceed operations outside of the 6 a.m. to
11 p.m.
Correct, yes.
So,
And like you said, that gives them the flexibility to.
right.
Gives y'all leeway.
Yeah, they want to say 8 to
It's
8 to 8,
consistent.
and that's their business decision. Okay, all right. Todd, you got any questions or comments, or is that?
I think the 6 to 11, or the time, that we need to make it the same, so we need to be consistent. And it looks like the driveway would be, looking at the pictures that they provided, the driveway just may need some gravel, but it looks like it'd be sufficient for, like he's talking about. It wouldn't be more than one car at a time, coming back in there very often. And did they say they were gonna, if we have it, they could stay open until after dark, would there be light, or are you planning on putting a light back there? Because I can't tell where one on the backside of the building before I'm looking at the picture.
Motion activated storm lights.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay. So do we want to make a motion with that change in the ordinance? Somebody want
Take a motion to, with the amendment of the change in the hours from 6 to 11.
to? All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Dyke, second by Councilman Johannes. Any further discussion or questions? Todd, any other comments or questions?
I mean, the only residential would be maybe across the street, but I don't know that would affect anyone
so, roll call?
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
I'm good with it, just let it roll.
Thank you all.
Thank you, council.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. All right, next item is the ordinance on designating real estate owned by the Bedford Elks Lodge. Number 2844 is tax exempt from town real estate taxation. Mr. Warner?
Bedford Elks Lodge, number 2844, hereinafter referred to as the Elks Lodge, by a letter dated July 10, 2024, requested the town council to enact an ordinance designating the lodge exempt from real estate tax liability on its lodge property located on West Main Street within the town. The lodges of benevolent and charitable organizations are exempt from local property taxation by classification under a state statute, but the finding has been that the property must be exclusively used for lodge and meeting space purposes for the organization. Roughly half of the Elks Lodge property is leased to a private business, and the advice we've been given is that the building does not qualify for exemption by classification under general state law. However, town council may exempt certain properties from property taxation by designation, meaning that the property is specifically designated as exempt as opposed to being part of a general classification that is exempt under state code. In order to qualify under this section, there are several criteria that must be considered by council, which are laid out below, and answers provided by both the lodge and town staff analysis where applicable. 1, we have to determine whether the lodge is exempt from federal income taxation under Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code. The finding is that it is. 2, whether the lodge has an ABC on-premise license. It does. 3, whether any director, officer, or employee of the lodge is paid compensation in excess of a reasonable allowance for salaries or other compensation. The lodge has no paid employees. 4, whether any part of the net earnings of such organization inures to the benefit of any individual, and whether any significant portion of the service provided by such organization is generated by funds received from donations, contributions, or local, state, or federal grants. We find that no funds are distributed to individuals, and the lodge does not realize significant revenues from donations or grants. 5, whether the organization provides services for the common good of the public. We find that a list of community services the lodge provides was attached to the application and is fairly extensive. 6, whether a substantial part of the activities of the organization involves carrying on propaganda or otherwise attempting to influence legislation, and whether the organization participates in or intervenes in any political campaign on behalf of any candidate for public office. The lodge carries on no political activities. 7, the revenue impact to the locality and its taxpayers of exempting the property. Current tax revenue is $981 per annum. And 8, any other criteria, facts, and circumstances that the governing body deems pertinent to the adoption of such ordinance, and this is up to council to fully analyze. There are also significant limitations to the scope of the exemption. The most important are the exemption ordinance must state specifically the use for which the exemption is granted, i.e. for an Elks Lodge. No exemption can be provided to an organization that has any rule, regulation, policy, or practice that unlawfully discriminates on the basis of religious conviction, race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Or if a part of the building is a source of revenue or profit, then the property must be divided, and the portion that is a source of revenue or profit must be taxed. Public hearing has been conducted pursuant to the notice required by the statute. An ordinance granting the exemption has been posted in accordance with the provisions of the town code. Tonight, I'm asking the council take such action as council determines is proper in response to the Elks Lodge request for real estate tax exemption.
All right, before we make a motion, do we want to discuss the ordinance? Are there any questions? Because there may be some language in there based on some information we've gotten tonight that we may need to tweak before we pass an ordinance. So if we could, I would like to kind of, do that, same kind of thing. Let's have a little discussion, and then we can talk. Mr. Foreman?
I have some questions, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
On what we just read, and this is, I don't know if it's contradictory or not, but it says, as part of the building a source of revenue and profit, then the property must be divided in the proportion of the source of revenue or profit must be taxed. The word must is where my confusion comes from, because what we just heard a few minutes ago in the public comments, there wasn't a must, it was a may, I believe. So could somebody answer that question? Do we have to tax it, or can it be exempted?
Well, I think the first thing to recognize about that is that that's not actually, I'm explaining that so that everybody knows that, but that's actually determined by the Commissioner of the Revenue. But the section of the code that deals with that provides that whenever any building, or whenever, it's 3603, it says that whenever any building or land or part thereof exempt from taxation and not belonging to the Commonwealth is a source of revenue or profit, whether by lease or otherwise, all of such buildings and land shall be liable to taxation as other land and buildings in the same county, city, or town. Period. Next sentence, when a part but not all of any such building or land, however, is a source of revenue or profit, and the remainder of such building or land is used by any organization exempted from taxation pursuant to this chapter for its purposes, only such portion as is a source of revenue or source of profit or revenue shall be liable for taxation.
So the first criteria is the organization tax exempt. Yes.
Right, so the first thing that you look at is the organization tax exempt, which they're right, lodges are typically tax exempt, but it has to be used by a lodge exclusively by the lodge. So that's the first question, and it doesn't meet that test, but you guys can say by designating it, which is what you propose to do tonight, that yes, we believe that despite the fact that I don't know how the square footage is ultimately going to break down. That's a thing for the Commissioner of the Revenue to get on her tape measure and figure out. But you can say that because part of this is used as a source of revenue or profit, but we think that the primary purpose of this is a lodge, and we believe that as a lodge it should be tax exempt, you can designate it. So you're designating it and saying, this is tax exempt to the extent that it can be tax exempt. Then it kicks over to the Commissioner of the Revenue, and she's going to apply this test under 58.1, 3603 of dividing the property out. I just didn't want anybody to be confused when she goes and does that.
Right. So we don't have the authority to say what percentage is taxable versus tax exempt. All we're saying is the organization is tax exempt, and the portion that it needs to.
This particular parcel, as long as it continues to be used primarily for a lodge, is going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the wording in the ordinance, on page 2 of the ordinance, where was it?
Paragraph 2.
Yeah, I was looking at that also, Mr. Mayor. Look, by what I just heard, if we make it tax exempt, we should probably have that language just as a space for such organization lodge with not more than 1/2 of the property leased for substantial revenue or profit, because I didn't hear anything about the percentage of how much was leased.
Right.
All I just heard was that we should either designate it as nonprofit or not, let the Commissioner of Revenue decide the rest.
Yeah, I know that you are not the only person who brought that up, and it would be perfectly legal and perhaps appropriate, if it is the will of the council, to just put a period after the word lodge in that last sentence under clause 2, and then delete the remainder of that sentence that begins with and ends with profit.
Is that the consensus? I mean, like I said, and then and then like I said, part Part 4 will then throw it over to the Commissioner of Revenue to make that determination. All right, then the other question, the ordinance shall be in effect beginning on January 1, 2025. So our tax bills are due December 5th and June 5th. So those bills have actually been generated for this fiscal year. So is there a way to at least make that effective immediately so that it would, or somehow so that that December 5th bill, they get the they get the benefit of this, what we're trying to do on that December 5th bill? How do we,
I would take a quick look at Ann to correct me if I get ready to say something that's completely wrong. But my understanding is that the tax assessment for the town is due and payable as soon as, as soon as the tax rate is set.
Right.
In fact, actually, the first payment can wind up being due before the tax rate is set. And it's just divided into 2 payments. Now, you guys could set a different date and say that that the tax exemption begins, let's say October 1, September 1, something like that. And then there would just be somebody would probably in either Ann's office or the county treasurer's office or both would just have to make a calculation of what that looks like prorated and make an adjustment to the second bill for the year.
Yeah,
that might be more difficult than it sounds like.
Andy, you got any thoughts?
The commissioners on board with this, like I've been keeping them updated, they would have to go into the system and do an abatement. I think they said that they don't typically go backwards, but we can attempt it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want them to, if we're going to give them this, this benefit, why do we need to make them wait till June 5th or even the following? I mean, yeah. So, can we change when you guys thought?
I would say October.
October 1.
Give them time.
And then let them try to figure that out.
Yeah.
So that
Instead of January, we put in
October 1,
October
2024.
So is September 1 too early, based on billing or anything like that?
Well, it's already been billed. Okay. Because, I mean, we've already got our bills for this next year's tax payments. I'm assuming that y'all got, Mr. Owen, did you get your tax bill for the December and the June payment for next year?
Well, what typically happens is we have to contact the office several times just to get a bill, because when it comes across from the county, they indicate we do not owe anything.
Right.
So we go through a couple of weeks of trying to figure out who's going to get us a bill, because the township doesn't get it until we request it. So what happened this year, every year it's different, but what happened this year was the bill we received indicated that June payment was 0 and December payment was $981.12.
December of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I said, we want you to be able to get that, the exemption there, or, that benefit lowered there for that December 5th. So, yeah, we need to make it effective. I mean, I don't know if the assessor needs a little more time to actually kind of reassess it and make that change. So, it doesn't really matter, because the next bill is not due till December 5th, so we can make it effective October, and that gives everybody kind of time maybe to figure it out.
As long as when December 5th comes and if the percentage, the ratio does not meet.
Then you need to come back and make sure, yeah.
That we're not doing penalties.
Right, yeah, I mean, it should take effect with these percentages as of the next payment that's due. Yes, sir.
Mayor Manna, and that goes along with Mr. Owens' request for the being retroactive, because we have not yet paid any taxes at all. So if it pleased the council, if you could retroactively make it effective as of 1 January, we wouldn't know anything. We haven't paid anything yet anyway.
What about, well, the retroactive piece is not really kind of a part of this ordinance. That would be separate process if we're gonna go back and try to retroact
Yeah.
this, correct, Mr. Lockley? Is that a?
I did not see, that was perhaps the only question that could come up that I did not
I didn't see
research
that one coming in. I didn't see that one coming in. That was pretty good. So, I mean, but that would be something that we would have to take up, like any other tax refund or tax, that would be a different.
But there's no refund, we haven't paid it.
Right. There's no, right.
So you're all, no.
I don't know whether it can be made retroactive because frankly, I haven't studied that question.
Yeah. Well,
I've never been asked it.
And if you didn't have to pay a payment in June, you didn't pay a payment in June. Now, if you had paid a payment in June, December. So, is that what we're trying? That's what I'm thinking we're trying to do. All right.
I think we're trying to cut them a few months not paying on, or.
Well, if it's 23%,
Yeah, that's the part that's gonna even it out.
He'll pay 220,
Yeah.
whatever it was, 225 somewhere instead of 981 in December,
Yeah.
December 5th. And then he'll be current for this year. And then he'll get a new bill going forward. He should get a bill every year based on what the Commissioner of Revenue has.
Exactly.
made an assessment.
And I also decide to charge that, right? Because what I understood them say is we make it tax exempt, and the Commissioner of Revenue decides if there's a portion of it's taxable or not.
Right.
Is that correct?
I think probably in theory under our charter, Ann could make a different determination from the breakup that the commissioner makes, but I can't imagine her doing so. Does that make sense?
All right, so we're changing the January 1, 2025 to October 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
2020, and that gives everybody kind of time to kind of hash this out from the commissioner.
And again, I can't speak from the perspective of anybody else, but from the perspective of the town, I'm only the attorney for the town, but from the perspective of the town, if a bill wasn't sent in June and there can't be a penalty because it was our mistake not sending you a bill. So. Now, that's not to say the tax won't be due necessarily, if in the world of, whether you have to pay taxes in general. But as a general proposition, if you don't get a bill, you can't. And that's actually been decided on some cases recently in the city of Richmond, that if you don't get a bill, it's not you don't owe penalties. You still owe the taxes, but you don't owe the penalties.
Well, it's better to be sorry than check when you don't get a bill.
Absolutely.
We don't typically get a bill until we ask for it, to make sure we do or we do not.
And I'm sure everybody appreciates your conscientiousness.
All right, any other questions or comments? Anything?
There's nothing I can think of. Like I said, there's just a few things I pointed out to you and the other council people, so. we'll just-
Those two things were okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I got everything.
Yes.
Anybody else, Todd?
I think we covered it. I think we just, when we make the motion, we just amend the motion to strike that line and change the date.
Right. So does somebody want to?
Is that the motion?
Is that a motion?
I'll make that as a motion. I make the motion that we accept the ordinance of tax exempt status with the amendments to the ordinance, removing the line in chapter 2 after organizational law, that's putting a period and deleting that line and changing line 6 to October 1st, 2025.
So we got a motion by Councilman Foreman, second by, was it Councilman Updike?
You said 2025.
Did you say 2025 or 2024?
2024.
2025, is that what we were saying?
No, it'll be October.
2024, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I meant 2024, I was reading it off the
No problem.
October 1st, 2024.
Okay, all right. So we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman? Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, the next item is, appropriation of funds for forklift in the electric department. Mr. Warner.
The electric department maintains a variety of inventory items in the warehouse section of the building that require the use of a forklift. The existing forklift, which is approximately 25 years old, did not meet the required safety standards at its latest inspection. Forklift was immediately retired from service, and the department began to research options for obtaining a new forklift. After determining the market rate for new forklifts, the electric department began to rent a forklift and was able to secure a price of $15,500 to purchase the rented forklift directly. Staff has inspected the used forklift and found it to meet the needs of the department. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve the below budget amendment, which will appropriate budget to the general ledger accounts listed, a decrease in the expenditure line item entitled contingency of $15,500, and an increase in the expenditure line item identified equipment corresponding to $15,500.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment to $15,500 for the purchase of forklift?
So moved.
So we got a motion by Councilman Haley, second by Councilman Carson. Discussion, anybody have any questions? Todd, anybody got any questions on the forklift?
John?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good.
John, you want?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to ask, this hasn't been purchased yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And do we know how many hours? This is actually a really good price from what I understand. Just how many hours are on this? What do you know?
I don't know the exact number, but it is in very good condition for the unit.
John, if you had to estimate a useful life for it, maybe, what would you say?
I would say it's probably in better condition than our old forklift was 20 years ago. So I think it's going to got another 20 years, I would say.
You've been already using this forklift?
Yes.
So the other one we had was leased, correct?
No, this one is.
No, this
one
one's
was
leased. Okay.
No, the other one we had was in the building when we moved into our location. So it was probably 10 years old at that time. So this new one works fine. It's got all the features we need, and it should have a long life from this point forward.
Todd, any more questions?
I think you answered my questions.
Yeah, that was my question, would make sure the useful life was longer than the lease, then we're gonna, which, I mean, I think we were paying like $1,500 a month for the lease, so,
Yeah.
we're gonna be to the good,
Yeah,
very quickly.
it's a very good price for what it is, and, it puts us in a much better position, and also it's a much safer machine than what we had before.
When was the inspection done on the existing forklift?
We took it in there probably 2 months ago. The safety inspection was,
The sixth inspection that it failed, the safety inspection?
it was about 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
And so when we got the results of that, we stopped using it, and then we went ahead and leased this one, or rented. It's not leased, it's rented.
So on the new lease one, pretty much they will come do every day, service it and everything. Like
Was
we-
no longer leased.
We're purchasing
it. So we're taking it off the lease.
We're taking
Taking it off the rental agreement.
And buying it from the
purchasing. Correct.
rental company.
Correct, yes.
It's good math there.
The items on the inspection that failed, did we have any warning that these things were maybe close to being unsafe? How long do we know that the forklift was not safe?
As soon as we got the results of the inspection. we
Okay, so
stopped
there was no
using it.
indication before that?
Not from us, no, because it worked fine. So we didn't have any issues before that.
All right, any other questions on the forklift? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, next item was the one we removed, right, the appropriation for the replacement of the damage. Yeah, that's the one we removed to a later date. Next one, Mr. Warner, write-off on real estate taxes.
The town of Bedford and county of Bedford executed a tax sale of certain real property located within the town boundary, at which time the sale of parcel 80501234, located on Grove Street, did not deliver enough return to pay the outstanding balances to the town. The new property owner was given clear title as required. This parcel has an outstanding balance of $34,792.01, including liens, penalty, and interest. The outstanding balance is associated with the demolition lien, which was placed against the property record on July 3rd, 2018. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve the Treasurer's Office to write off the delinquent balance on parcel 80501234.
All right, do we have a motion to write off the delinquent balance on this real estate taxes?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion from Vice Mayor Stanley, a second, Councilman Haley. Any discussion?
Is this a piece of property down here on the corner of Grove Street, right below the railroad track? That old-
Yeah, it was corner of Grove and Jackson.
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
too specific.
So it wasn't the, yeah, it was the ones down on the, it was on the corner. My only talk, and I talked to Ann, I don't know if Ann had a chance, Mr. Lockley, to talk to you. And this is kind of a sidebar to this write-off, but are there other options? When we get to this point, where we've had the tax sale, we got a deficiency balance, the property's gone, are there other options to go after the owner, either judgments, debt offsets, selling it to a collection agency? Do other localities try to do anything with this delinquent debt, deficiency balance at that time, or is there just find it not cost benefit to do
So
that?
Ms. Cantrell didn't get with me about that until I think about noontime today, so I didn't have a chance to research it carefully.
Okay.
I think that the debt remains a personal debt of the former owner, so it doesn't attach to the land anymore.
Right.
The land is free, clear, no liens. The new owners are the proud owners of land that is clean of everything. However, the person who used to owe us money, I think still owes us money. It's just a personal debt rather than a debt with a lien on the land.
Right.
So I think, like you say, we could check if there's any unclaimed property that the state treasurer has, or submit it to the debt set-off program. I just didn't have enough time to run everything down, and I don't think Ann did either before the meeting.
And that doesn't reflect, have anything to do with action we need to take tonight, but, if there are opportunities there to, even if it's pennies on the dollar, try to get back some of our money. Obviously this money was spent years ago when we demolished the.
Yeah.
Because it takes at least 3 years or so before you can actually have a tax sale, is that correct? Typically.
3 years is typically the minimum.
Yeah, so, all right, any other questions or comments?
Do we have any idea what the new owner may be wanting to do with the property at this point?
I don't think there's been a house built on that particular lot yet. Hopefully they'll.
Oh, it's a house or business or?
Yeah. All right.
That's good.
Roll call.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, the next item is appropriation of funds for renewable energy credits. Mr. Warner.
The Blue Ridge Power Agency represents the town of Bedford at the Southeast Power Administration, or SEPA, and markets the renewable energy credits allocation on behalf of the town. The RECs attached to the town of Bedford's allocation of hydro production of the various facilities represented by the Blue Ridge Power Agency. The town of Bedford received $12,266 for its allocation of RECs from Blue Delta, the agent retained by the Blue Ridge Power Agency. The Electric Department is requesting that the additional revenue received be appropriated toward the materials and supplies expenditure account. And tonight, Town Council is requested to approve the budget amendment, which will appropriate budget to the general ledger accounts as follows: an increase in the revenue line item identified as recovery and rebates of $12,266, and an increase in the expenditure line item entitled materials and supplies of $12,266.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the recs?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Johansson, second by Councilman Updike. Any questions, comments? The only question I had, and John, maybe real quick, or Ann, did you, just what time period is this, John, for this $12,000 recovery? Is that a month, a quarter, a year?
The provisions of PJM allow us to accumulate the RECs for up to 3 years. And what we do through Blue Ridge is we watch the market, and when we see prices going up, we sell the RECs. So I can't give you exactly, this is probably a year worth of RECs.
Okay.
But we can accumulate them up to 3 years, and we watch the market.
I was hoping you were going to tell me it was a month.
I wish.
But
we'll take it, you know?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
I just have one question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Because I've not been on council before, when this normally comes in, is it normally reappropriated to a line item like this, or does it go back into the general, or the fund for the electric department normally? How does is this way it's normally handled?
Well, with Ann's assistance, this will be the way it's handled from here on out.
Yeah.
We have done something like this in the past, but we would like to make this standard procedure going forward.
Yeah, I don't think we specifically put it in a
So we
specific
haven't
line
gotten
item.
RECs from SEPA. It was only about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago that we pushed SEPA into filing the necessary paperwork to get the RECs in the market. They refused for such a long time, but because a federal government agency, and as you know, trying to move them is like trying to push a boulder up a hill. So we finally got them to do it, and we're very appreciative that we're getting this allocation now.
And you want to answer Todd's question there for him?
Historically, what I was seeing is that these payments were coming in and they were being posted directly to the expenditure account. And so I requested the departments to start, processing them to the revenue account so that we see the full activity of cash. So you see it going through revenue, you see it going through expense, rather than just going into our expense account and reducing expenses. So that is a procedure change.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So, in consideration of the forklift thing, does this help offset that cost then?
Actually, they're putting it in materials and supplies line, so it would, yeah. I mean, overall, yeah, it increases our revenue. Increased our revenue, but yeah, specifically, no, it's not being used. Wouldn't be used to pay for the forklift on the capital item. I mean, they could have said that if that's what that, if they wanted to, say, yeah, we want to put it in that line item so that it didn't go against the contingency line. But John, I guess, and figured materials and supplies are going up in price too. I don't want to speak for you why you made that decision, but
it comes from operations, so we'd like to keep it in the operating side of the accounts rather than the capital side.
And it's a weekly. It's a daily, weekly demand for that.
Yes, it is. So, yeah.
That. No. All right. Any other questions? Todd? Good.
Sorry, you provide my question answered.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right. Next item is appropriation of funds for the 69 kV breaker at Orange Street Station.
The existing transformer bank at Orange Street Station consists of three 9,333 kVA single-phase 69/12 kV units. Total capacity of the bank is 27,999 kVA, with a summer peak load of 11.5 megawatts and a winter peak load of 12 megawatts. Substation serves all of the eastern section of Bedford, including major retail stores and public safety offices. The current protection for the transformer bank is provided by a set of single-phase fuses that have been in service for 25 years. Loss of a fuse can result in damage to customer equipment from phase differential. The town would like to accomplish the following work. 1, move existing northern transformer to a storage position. 2, connect the transformer next to the 12 kV bus to replace the transformer to be stored. 3, install a 3-phase breaker. 4, install a relay panel and associated equipment. 5, install necessary cable to wire the 12 kV breakers to the overall bus differential. 6, install sudden pressure relays on the distribution transformers. 7, install lightning arrestor on each of the transformers. And 8, install new 69 kV bus to replace current overhead wire bus. The main project goal is to increase reliability and reduce time to restore power to Orange Street customers. The project scope will also proactively reduce the potential for damage to customer equipment and also improve employee safety conditions through an ability to remotely operate the 69 kV switching equipment. The equipment can be added to the SCADA system for monitoring. Overall, the project reduces the probability of damage to the transformer bank, which has a current estimated replacement cost of $1 million. Total estimated project cost is $332,092, with $125,092 requested as a budget amendment in fiscal year 2025, and the remainder will be requested as a part of the fiscal year 26 budget process. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve a budget amendment which will appropriate budget to general ledger accounts as follows: a decrease in the expenditure line item entitled contingency of $125,092 and a corresponding increase in the expenditure line item identified as substation breaker replacement as $125,092.
Do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the 69 kV breaker project at Orange Street?
So moved.
Second.
So we got a motion by Vice Mayor Stanley, second by Councilman Haley. Any questions?
This was in the last year's budget, correct?
This year's budget?
Oh, this year's budget, I'm sorry.
Yes, we had money for breaker replacement.
And that line item was 275.
I don't off the top of my head what it was. But
yeah, I like that. So that was 275. So is this you say this is probably a two-part project?
It is.
And that 275, well, would now be the 332 if you were comparing the full cost and the budget. Okay.
Yes.
So
this is another piece of equipment that has a long lead time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we order it now, it may not even come in this fiscal year.
Okay.
But you have to get the ball rolling at some point. So we'd like to place the order for it. And the thought was we would get the material this year and actually do the work next fiscal year. So hopefully the timing will permit that to happen. And let me just say that this substation and most of the substations on our system were, I'll call it value engineered back in the day. So the protection for the transformers are through fuses. So, for example, we had an outage earlier this summer where one of the fuses blew out. And so we had to patrol the line, try and find out where the fault was, come back to the substation, replace the fuse. That took us 2.5, 3 hours, 4 hours. So, and our street is our most populated substation. If we had the breaker in place, it probably would have reset in a matter of a few seconds. So instead of having a 3-hour outage, it would have just been a blink and it would have come back online. So really, today when you're engineering substations, you always put breakers in and you don't do the fuse route because the fuses really are not very good protection for the transformers that are in there, and the transformers are extremely expensive. So you want to do everything you can to protect them. So seeing that Orange Street is our most populated substation, it just makes sense to try and increase the reliability of that facility and offer more protection to the investment that's already there.
But this substation is not in any danger of going out again, is it?
Well, we don't know that. We don't know, because you have a fault out on the line, what happens is, if it's a significant fault, it will blow a fuse. And by the way, the fuses are a couple $1,000s a piece. So, and we always have to have spares down there. So, because the fuse blows, you've got to try and find out where the fault was, and that requires a patrol of that circuit. And then hopefully you find whatever caused it, a limb or something that happened, car accident, whatever. And then you can, fix that and then replace the fuse. So it's a much more manual operation. And quite frankly, it's a little bit dangerous to put a fuse in a 69 kV, 69,000 volt line. I've been there when we've done it, and it's quite an operation. So it will save customers outage time, and it will save our employees from doing this, what I call a fairly dangerous operation.
That substation controls some major businesses there.
It does. At Walmart, for the whole circuit to Walmart is coming out of Orange Street. So it will benefit them as well, as there's many residential customers on that circuit too. So that's the thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one question for you, John. One more question.
Sure.
Just to help me understand, so you did budget for this, but your estimate was lower than you thought it was going to be. Is that correct? The way I'm thinking?
Well, that's true. The price is like a moving target these days. The prices keep going up and up and up. So at some point, you want to place your order before the next price increase. So yeah, that's why we decided to break it out into 2 steps.
So this 125, would that get this work 1 through 8 actually done this fiscal year? This kind of listed that Bart read out.
What that is going to do is get us the order for the breaker, and hopefully it gets delivered this year, and the ancillary equipment.
Right.
Next year would be the labor to actually put it in, and then the minor construction work that's going to have to be done down there to accommodate it.
Okay. So none of this other stuff can actually be done until you get the.
That's right.
The breaker.
I mean, we do the engineering.
Right.
We have all the drawings done. We know the steps we have to take, the material we need, and then once we receive the material, then we can actually begin construction.
So there could be a possibility you get that material and you come back and say, I want to go ahead and start work now. And then we could go up to the 275 in this year's budget.
But I doubt it,
Doubt it
because
would happen
the
that
lead
quick.
time is such that these things, nobody stocks them in inventory. It has to be custom built. When you order it, you get in the production schedule, and whenever it's done, that's when you get it.
All right. Any other questions, Todd? Anybody?
I'll give everything I had.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
Next item is appropriation of funds for capital items.
The electric department would like to request funding to replace a wood pole at the Orange Street substation with a steel transmission pole for a cost of approximately $6,500. The current pole has sustained continued woodpecker damage. Based on recent experience with other poles that experienced woodpecker damage, the frequency associated with the pole continues to attract woodpecker damage when replaced with a new wood pole. The department would like to replace the existing wood pole with a steel pole to avoid future woodpecker damage. The town has several anticipated building developments for both residential and commercial projects. The current lead time required on meter ordering is approximately 1 year. In order to prepare for the upcoming development, the electric department would like to request funding to order approximately 150 new meters for a total cost of $44,000. The residential meters ordered will have a newer technology that will allow for remote service connection changes from the drive-by reading system. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve the below budget amendment, which will appropriate budget to the general ledger accounts as followed: a decrease in the expenditure line item identified as contingency of $50,500, and an increase in the expenditure line item identified as infrastructure improvement and extension of $6,500, and in the AMR commercial meters line item of $44,000.
We have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the steel pole and meters.
So moved.
Second.
So we got motion by Councilman Updike, second by Councilman Carson. Any questions?
Is this poll gonna be in a year, or can we get the poll? Or did the woodpecker Ralph
Yeah.
pay in it?
Woody and his family are doing a great job on that pole. We think we can get the pole in about 20 weeks. But again, this is something that nobody stocks. You have to order it, and when they build it for you. And so, unfortunately, we have a woodpecker problem. And so this is one case that we think it's important to replace that wood pole with a steel pole.
It might be interesting to know that they're attracted by the cycles on the wooden poles.
Right.
They'll drill right on through thinking they're going to find a meal.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, you can come over to the electric department. We have a portion of a pole that we cut out that was on the Mosley transmission line. And you can, if the hole is big enough, you can put your head in it. And the woodpeckers just, I don't know, it's the 60 cycle hum that attracts them. So,
On the meters, John, I know that's for the future. Are we in good position for the middle school that if
yes.
the meters, we've got those, we're not waiting on those to kind of come in?
We think we have sufficient meters for the near term.
Right.
But when we're talking about the new possible developments, we need to get this order going. Because
Right.
again, this is a long lead time.
Okay.
John, real quick, you said remote service connection at the bottom, AMR commercial meters. Are we talking about the AMI metering?
Well, it could be an AMI meter, but we read it with the AMR system.
Okay.
And it gives us remote disconnect capability. So right now, from our meter reading vehicle, we can disconnect and reconnect customers. So we don't have to.
You don't have to go right to the meter.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, this usually works within a few blocks of
Yeah.
the meter, so you
Right.
don't have to be right on the
Yeah,
premises.
I've seen that.
Yep.
We'll eventually get to AMI.
We will.
You'll like it.
I will.
Todd, any questions on meters? All right. Anybody else? All right. Roll call.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman? Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Next item
Thank you.
is, we need a motion to go into closed session for, what's the code section? All right, so we need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended to discuss personnel matters regarding the allocation of personnel. So we have a motion from Councilman Haley. Do we have a second?
A 5-minute break.
Yeah, we were going to that. We go, yeah. So we have a second from Vice Mayor Stanley. Roll call.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Haley? Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
Before we get started,
Be it resolved that the council of the town of Bedford hereby certifies that one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the council.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Haley, second by Vice Mayor Stanley. Roll call.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Carson? No, he's not here.
Absent.
Mr. Foreman? Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 6 ayes.
We are adjourned.